Thanks for staying with us. Anger is mounting following yet another attack and a killing of a member of the LGBTQI plus community. Activists marched on Parliament on Friday to demand justice for Andile Ntutela. Affectionately known as Lulu, Ntutela was murdered in Kariga in the Eastern Cape. One of the march organizers was Tutu Zondo, who's joining us now from Cape Town, I believe. Tutu, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. So you marched Friday.
Thank you so much for having me.
A pleasure. You marched Friday to demand justice for Lulu, but of course that is one tragic death in a long list of attacks on members of the LGBTQI plus community. What are you hoping to get on the back of that march to Parliament?
I think we were hoping to really address three things that I think we did. The first was to government. So we marched to Parliament and we handed over a memorandum to a member, and that memorandum will then go to the National Assembly. And in that memorandum, we listed 9 things that we think are important so that our government can begin to actually help in curbing these incredibly gruesome and horrific acts that are happening to the LGBTI community. Like you said, Ululu was not the only, nor was he the first. I think our country still has a very, very long way to go. The second that we wanted to address was the media. You know, we believe that LGBT lives need to be shown more. We believe that LGBT stories and voices need to reach greater audiences as well. And we believe that the only way that that can happen is through media. So we needed to address media. We needed this to become a national story because as much as it was a movement on social media, we needed to reach a lot more people to hear this plight. And third of all, we wanted to reach the hearts and the minds of the public. You know, we need people to start seeing us and treating us with respect and with dignity. And that's how we begin to curb some of these issues that the LGBT community are facing.
And I'm glad you mentioned the issue of the public, because one of your calls is for a debate to take place in Parliament on what is a serious hate crime in South Africa. But it's one thing for members of Parliament to have a debate, but if things haven't changed at society level where these murders and other abuses occur, and at police stations where police officers who themselves are homophobic don't treat them with care and sensitivity, the debate is pretty much useless, isn't it?
100%. This is a known fact that South Africa has one of the best constitutions in the world. We were one of the first countries in the world to put in its Bill of Rights that we have the right to dignity. It doesn't matter your age, your race, your sexual orientation, and those laws have been around since the 90s. And our great constitution hasn't helped our lived experiences. So something has to start changing. And the public debate definitely would be, or a debate in public or in Parliament would be great, but also we need to start getting these stories heard a lot more. And not only the stories of our gruesome murders, but also just stories of our everyday life experiences, because Andile was more than just a hashtag or a statistic that we can add. He was a full person with a full life, and somebody who couldn't see that decided to end his life. So we need there to be a change from a public level, and there's a lot of ways to do that, but definitely the government using their voices is one way, the media covering LGBT people more, not just when we're dead, is another way, and us just reaching out to the public in different ways is also really, really important.
And in essence, what it's all about, it's about treating abuses and killings of queer people as not just an event, but an important societal issue. Am I hearing you correctly?
100%. So part of our memorandum that we sent to Parliament is that we want them to fast track the hate crimes bill, because LGBT rights at the end of the day are just human rights. And this bill would not only protect LGBT individuals, but anybody else who, could be at risk of getting hate crimed, if I can say that, but they're not having their case heard or punished accordingly. So this includes people who might have a hate crime against them because of their age, their race, if they are living with albinism, if they're living with HIV. This is a bill that would help thousands, if not millions, of South Africans. So we need parliament, we need government, we need all our elected officials to take this seriously because, like I said before, LGBT rights are human rights and we need to take this seriously.
And how afraid are you as a queer person living in South Africa now?
I am incredibly afraid because these cases have been happening more and more often. In the past month, we've had 3 that we know of, because the other truth of the matter is there's so much that goes unreported with cases that happen to our community. Like you mentioned a little bit earlier, the community is afraid to go to police, to report their crimes. And that means that so many of them are going unreported. And on top of that, when these crimes do happen, they're hardly ever listed as hate crimes because we don't have this bill yet. So we don't even know the accurate number of people who are going through this. And it's a frightening experience. Even yesterday, I was very aware of the fact that while we were walking down the street, anything could happen to us. Not only as protesters, but as LGBT people, where we are so often on the fringes of society that as soon as we decide to step up and take our place in society, that's often shunned or met with violence. So that's something that I'm constantly aware of, no matter where I am. And I'd like that to stop. And I think anybody would want that to stop. It's no life to live to always be in fear.
Tutu Zondo, good to speak to you. Hopefully things will change and change in this lifetime.